Hello and welcome to another episode of LCS Power Rankings, but it's for summer now. Headset fell out. This backlash for the explosion. Anyway, we're here. We're at it again, ranking the teams by their power, not by the standings. I thought about that. Bad idea. We got some takeaways. We're going to keep it nice, short, to the point. And as always, if you want to talk about these, feel free to drop a comment, or I stream on Twitch. Monday through Wednesday from 5 to 9 p.m. Central Time. That's right. If you live in Chicago, it's that time. Wonderful. Now let's get right into it. We're going to start today off with number 1. It's going to be C9. They're pretty much what we expected. Tops 3 from spring, coming into summer, look super clean, concise, and incredibly proactive. Not to mention when they hit a go button, they frickin' go, man. And the only real takeaway feels like something we already knew. They're a force and started incredibly strong with some new looks. And as much as I despise, and I'm going to get this out of the way so I don't have to say it ever again, I despise Sona Taric comps. Ugh, they're gross. They have a lot of stuff going for them. They're gross. It's like, gross. Anyway, I hate them. That out of the way. They played a Sona Taric comp very well, and they deserve being ranked number 1 this week. Really, really solidly. Moving on to number 2. We got TL. Now, the reason TL isn't number 1 and C9's number 1 is because TL lost against Echo Fox. Fair enough. But I don't think that loss was so telling that their power has disappeared. TL is gone. No, that's not the case. The fact is, they're powerful. They're still powerful, so they're 2 on the power rankings. But they're not the unstoppable force that they started at spring with. I mean, there isn't really a whole lot to discuss when it comes to TL, other than noting, like, for reals, this is not the same TL that we saw in spring. Not at all. They took MSI by the balls, beat IG, and kept those lessons moving into Summer Split. They learned, they adapted. The passive wait for team fight is gone. The team's aggressive, proactive in the early game. They accrue massive leads. In the Fox game, day 2, they whiffed a 4K gold lead at 15 minutes. That was pretty bad. But we could probably chalk that up to a slow start that everyone was talking about. I want to take a little bit away from that because they did beat TSM so convincingly, but there's a reason TSM isn't number 1 or 2, and again, we'll get there. So there's some weaknesses, but I think those should evaporate as the team gets back together, gets into the groove of things, and unless they experience a massive amount of burnout, I think this team is going to be fine. I think they have potential to move up. TL number 1? Nah, I mean, it's not a surprise. Anyway, that moves us to number 3. And I think that has got to go. That wonderful honor. Drum roll, please. I don't have a drum roll, but I do have this. Oh. That's a shitty groan. We're moving on to TSM. Do I want to put TSM here? Yes, I do. And that's because this team seemed to get a wake-up call against TL. The wake-up being that this is a very different league than what they left it in spring. Like, they took that, ooh, we're the better team, let's just scale and do nothing proactive. That was very visible day 1, and it seemed to fade away kind of in day 2. Again, Sona Taric, gross. Gross. They did manage to move around the map, accrue leads, and instead of sitting in their lane, they were proactive, they made moves. Sometimes they were reactive at a very good time. And I think that if they continue to take those high percentage plays, that win might not have happened. I need a really good look at TSM. I need to continue to see them to really gauge their power, and with a 1-1 week beating CLG and losing to TL, there isn't really a whole lot to gain from that, right? CLG the expected win, TL kind of the expected loss. Maybe an expected win if you're one of those, ooh, TL came back, they're going to have no, okay, all right, let's get straight, right, okay? TL beat them. That's not a surprise, okay? And it might, granted, that game should have been closer, but it's not really a surprise that TL came out on top. CLG, again, not really a surprise that they came out on top of them. So we really need to look a little bit more at TSM. For the time being, they're going to sit at the bottom of the top 3. Anyway, I totally expect this team to go up as they adjust and adapt and build more on that early game aggression, reactivity, proactivity. This team is still going to be really good. Like, at the end of spring, there was a serious point to be made that maybe we didn't send the best team to MSI. Like, TSM is good. They have that ceiling. I don't think this week was a very good demonstration of that ceiling. It was I don't even want to call it their floor, because I feel like they could do much worse. Again, not really a whole lot we can take away from this. They did more stuff. Day 2. That's good. That's a good thing. Moving on, then, to number 4. I got the explosion right there. I don't even have to make it myself. We're going to move on to the Golden Guardians. Maybe. Yes, we're going to move on to the Golden Guardians because FlyQuest looked like hot garbage. This team could very well be good as meets the eye, but a strong showing against 2 teams that looked out of sync puts this team 4th. They're aggressive, they're smart, their rotations mix them with some sheer lame dominant looks, with a contract that understands where he needs to be, ensuring his team a victory, is a really good start, right? And putting this 4th is in no way trying to neg them or take away from their success, but like, as far as the ranking goes for this week, they won out against a Fox that looked really bad, like out of sync, like just hot garbage, like we were talking about FlyQuest. Speaking of FlyQuest, they beat them too. Hot garbage. Really bad in week 1. I really want to rant on FlyQuest because they looked terrible. Anyway, a clean look, but it needs to be underscored by the opponents that they played, right? Not the strongest opponents, and I would like to see how they fare against some of those upper 3 teams, and maybe some of those teams that should have been closer. FlyQuest should have been that game to clearly put where Golden Guardians is, but didn't turn out. That's okay. They're number 4 going into week 2 after week 1. Moving on then to the number 5. We gotta move to Optic, baby. I don't know. Optic has come to summer with a plan. Let's use Crown as a great plan. And use them in an already existing split push style. Give them tools to rotate the team fights if they break out. You see that in the TF. Has that ultimate, gets him into team fights. You see that with a Vlad in the TP. Bam. Great team fighter, great solo laner. Perfect. Let's put Crown on that. Let's get him in the side lane. Let's split push. And I think that this style, like the fact that they have a plan and they can execute it, is really, really overlooked. And I think that the real overlooked portion, in addition to having a plan, is the ability for Optic to manipulate the pace of the game. Okay? Hear me out. Hear me out. Look at week 1 again. Okay? They're like, we're going to take it real slow on day 1. Okay? That's a pretty good idea. As FlyQuest, again, hot garbage. But, well, like, let's take that plan, and we're going to set the pace. And they set the pace really slow. And FlyQuest, because they're doing nothing. I'm talking too much about FlyQuest. We'll get there. Because they did nothing, it worked really well for them. Day 2, they're like, we're going to pick up the pace a little bit. We're going to see how we can push this. And they did it. And they manipulated, and 100 Thieves managed to take some of that game pace and kind of tweak it a little bit. But for a majority of the game, Optic decided when the game was going to happen. And I think that's an incredibly underlooked thing. I mean, it's kind of, we're week 1. Like we're eye testing the fuck out of this, okay? Week 1, Optic manipulating the paces of this game, playing on their terms against teams that I don't want to call FlyQuest worse than them, but FlyQuest in week 1 was worse than them. So against 2 teams that were the worse than them, is that the biggest accomplishment ever? No. But we're putting this team 5. Yeah, it's not like, oh man, stretch of the... No, it's fine. They're 5th. Like, we're not giving them too much credit here. They looked clean. They looked good. They're manipulating the pace of the game. They were using Crown. Crown got all over the place. It's a good time. But speaking of crazy madmen who are awesome for their team and moving all over the place, that brings us to number 6, and I think that has got to be Echo Fox. I mean, Fox here is really just like a nod to Echo Fox, right? Because they looked super out of sync, like super bad day 1. They bamboozled themselves. They were, I don't know what to do, and then they just kind of like, that was Echo Fox. Week 1, day 1. There it is. Echo Fox. But Solo, on both days, looked like an immovable object in the top lane and managed to give his team a rock on the map. Not to mention in their game against TL, the rest of the team really stepped it up and managed to weather the storm that was TL's early game. I mean, like, wedging them in here at number 6 is pretty justified. And I think with their wing being against TL, it's exciting for this team. And I don't think it's indicative of this team. I don't think, like, oh, any given day, Fox could be TL. No, probably not. Probably not. Echo Fox, it was a good team. It was a good game. They did well. They played well. But do I think that they're like an upper echelon team? Not yet. Not yet. Can they expand on this, hey, Solo, win us the game thing? Maybe. Maybe. We will see. I mean, it worked for Huni in the past. We're not going to quite get there. Yeah, we might get there yet. Speaking of Huni, moving on to... Oh, no, I lied. We're not getting to Huni just yet. But they had like that Huni look. Fox, Solo, good stuff. Number 6. Moving on to number 7, I gotta say it's CLG here. I think they looked pretty well improved from spring. I'm not saying, like, massively improved, or it's not like, oh, brand new CLG. No, it's not, okay? But this team has an early game now, okay? That's miles ahead of where they were, okay? Miles, like, air horns the whole bit. Better, right? Okay, not good, but better. They have one. And Wiggly doesn't really look like a top-tier jungler, but he really has managed to step it up. He was proactive on the map and attempting to make an impact in the early game a lot of the time. Biofrost looked like CLG allowed him to break the shackles and just play to win the game. Granted, Yuumi Zyra, not the best sample size, but if we can get Biofrost on some of these mages that might not be, you know, enchanter supports, but more so the mage supports, I would like to see, I guess, Yuumi... Anyway, I'd like to see what Bio can do with more of these aggressive picks, because those picks allowed CLG's bottom lane to look more relevant than I think they did all of spring. I mean, they didn't look good, right? They didn't look, oh my god, look at CLG. No. CLG looked good, but not enough, right? They had a bottom lane. It wasn't the best in the league, and I don't think anyone would make an argument for that. Rune looks like a solid top laner, but there's not really much to talk about, which I think is a huge plus for this team. If you can have an addition move onto your team and you don't have to talk about them, that speaks miles for what that means, right? That player is in, that player is gelling, they're not making massive mistakes, and maybe they're not making a huge impact on the map either, but I think that's utilizing a new player pretty effectively. So the fact that he was there, he did stuffs, he didn't do stuffs bad, worked pretty good. That sick-ass play on the Baron, though, that was pretty good with the Kennen. Well, we could talk about that. See, good things. Good things. But I enjoy seeing scrappy CLG, but this team needs to figure out a real answer to Sona Taric. Okay, I think a lot of teams need to figure out an answer to Sona Taric, but CLG especially. Like, they're like, oh, look, in scrims, we have this idea, and it just didn't pan out against TSM. Granted, TSM is probably, again, a lot better than CLG, so maybe you try that, you work it out with the teams that are lower than you, see how it works, and then move your way up to the big boy teams with that counter pick. But, I don't know. I would rather see them ban it away. It looked like they really didn't have a plan. Their early game, while is existent, is sloppy, and they don't really have a late game to match it quite yet. And you can attribute that to a new top laner. Obvious, like, synergy issues are the name of the game, but I don't think that by any stretch of the imagination CLG is, like, super improved. I don't think CLG is a playoff-ready team right now. Do they have the building blocks, though? Yes. CLG has now been given the building blocks, whether through coaching, whether through Ruin. I don't think Darshan was a huge issue as to why CLG was losing, but it was a fresh face, and it seems to be doing good things for them. Again, building blocks. I don't think this by any means is a playoff team. They don't look like it. They need a lot of work. But it's a step in the right direction, and I'm very happy to see it. I went super long on CLG because I like CLG. I like CLG. All right. But that's number 7. Moving on to number 8. I think I'm going to have to put FlyQuest here. Because granted, I want to put this hot, steaming pile of garbage at number 10 after week 1. I really do. Like, you want to look at the power of this league, I think 100 Thieves, I think Clutch, both very, very above FlyQuest, but you can't take away what they did in spring. But, man, does this team have work to do. They did nothing. They were like the AFK team. They're like, you want to play the game? That's cool. I'll let you play the game. I'm not going to play. I'm just going to sit on the bench over here, watch you play the game. Like, that was FlyQuest week. They did literally nothing. Granted, oh, look, we're playing against C9. That's kind of a hard game. Yeah. They had all the go buttons. That was cool. They tried to, like, bait out a lot of those cooldowns and then go in after. Sometimes it didn't work, and they really didn't go. They never had that trigger finger. They just... They did nothing. Again, nothing. Like, you want to talk about power rankings? FlyQuest looked like nothing. Like, look at FlyQuest. FlyQuest week 1, summer. Woo! Fucking nothing. But I have to give them some credit for what they did in spring because they looked pretty clean. Hopefully, this was just slow start. They'll figure it out. They'll do whatever it is that they need to do, but like this whole calculated, we're gonna sit back and then only engage when we're 2 inhibitors down is not such a great idea. I really didn't love the Pyke pick from them. They had no idea how to play it. I don't know. Maybe it was off, but again, hot garbage. And on a power rankings, they look like a tissue. Okay, look at it. It is a tissue. That's how bad they looked. But I got to put them 8, because do I think their relative power is equal to week 1? After that week 1, honestly, I personally, yes. But I feel like that would, realistically, probably not. So we're going to put that at number 8. This is going to be weird. 100T is going to be 10, and I really didn't want them there because FlyQuest looked so much worse this week. I mean, granted, they're both 0-2, okay, but, like, I don't know. We're going to go down to number 9. Clutch Gaming. Clutch Gaming is, in my mind, right now, the most underrated 0-2 team. Like, Freak on the dive. I'm so glad I recorded this after the dive because now me and Freak have, like, opposing opinions, which shows you that I wrote this before the dive comes out. But, or at least until I consume it. Freak thinks Clutch looks like hot garbage. I think FlyQuest looks like hot garbage. But I think they're the most underrated 0-2 team, and I think that statement speaks to that. They looked like a team that was really willing to roll over in the face of Optic, and to a team that got aggressive as hell moving into day 2 against C9. Like, they switched it. They hit the go button. Does this team need hella polish? Yes. Me saying that, you know, Clutch is the most underrated 0-2 team doesn't mean, oh my god, Clutch is going to win the spit. No. But they are a team that you should be keeping your eye on. I don't think Clutch is a write-off by any means. They made adaptations. And I think adaptations, especially in a BO1 format like the LCS is, and it branches into your BO5s as well, that adaptation that quickly is incredibly valuable. Now, again, does that mean that this team needs no polish? No. The adaptation was good. The execution was terrible. Okay, like, we went from, like, I'm going to sit back and let the game happen, sometimes feed, to, like, I'm going to turbo in. And, like, but I respected it. I respected the fuck out of it. They tried something. They went for it. They put Huni on a Pyke. And I don't love the Pyke blind. Pyke blind was a terrible decision. Like, we found a Camille counter pick, which is actually kind of cool. I like that because everyone's like, oh my god, even Korea. I turned on Korea last night. What we got? Pyke all over the place. Because everyone's like, oh my god, Wonder did so good on it. Like, this amazing pick. It's not. It's okay. It's a good pick. It just works for ranged matchups. That is what it was designed for. It was designed for the Jace matchup specifically, but it works pretty well into ranged matchups in general. When you blind pick it, I don't think it's a first pick, like, first pick meaning, you know, blind pick. It's not a blind pickable champion in the top lane. It's a good pick, okay? And I loved what it did for Clutch. It just, like, ignited something in them, right? To turbo int to your heart's content. Underrated. Again, lots and lots of work needs to be done to bring Clutch to a place where they could even talk about playoffs. But I liked to see the adaptation. And if they can adapt like that, and again, maybe not improve, but adapt like that in a day, I would like to see what they do in a week. I want to see what they do against some of those middle tier teams, what they do against a Flag West, what they do against a Golden Guardians, what they do against a CLG. Haven't looked at the schedule, so I don't know if that's going to happen, but it is something I'm excited for. That adaptation, again, it's something that can't really be overlooked. It's super, super important, and if they can do that in one day, maybe they can fix, polish, work, and be better by week 2, and really show us that, but like on steroids. Let's show me adaptation, but better. Let me show, a different look, but it looks clean as fuck. Like, that's what I want to see from Clutch. I do think they're underrated. I am going to eat my words, but God, do I love, just seeing a team pull the trigger and just, go for it. Again, Huni could probably use some work on the pike regardless. While it might not be the great, best blind pick, and I wouldn't recommend that ever again, I kind of want to see him do it, but I want to see it better. Huni's, I want to say he's still that great player, but I haven't seen it in a long time. I don't think any of us have seen it in a long time, like a year and a half, 2 years at this point. So he needs to work on it. Before, you could be like, oh, it's Huni, just give him the pike, of course he'll fucking smash on it. That's just not the Huni we know anymore, and Huni needs to, okay, I like that. I like what it did for your team. Let's take it back. Let's make it better. Let's make some of those ults land. And then I want to see what Clutch does. Again, a lot of it's just more work. I want to see this team with more work done. And I think there's a real... There's something here. You can feel it. You can feel it in your soul. But, for now...
Oh, no! We suck again!
It is just kind of how it is. Clutch is just they could use some work. Again, number 9. Long way to go to the top. But, again, probably one of the more underrated O2 teams. FlyQuest being one of the more overrated O2 teams because they look like hot garbage. Again, look, do I need to bring... Look, as a tissue. There's the power. Which brings us to the number 10 spot. We got 100 Thieves. I think we did that already. So we'll do 100 Thieves. That's a little bit better. It looks like they're starting fresh in summer, and I'm not entirely sure that's really a bad thing. Getting a jungler straight out of customs and onto the LCS stage can't be good for a week 1 performance, and it's bound to contribute to a rough start. But Saligo seems to be a rock. Maybe not the same kind of rock as Solo or Dwayne Johnson, but a solid mid laner. I think he laned really well and really respectfully at the same time. He absorbed a lot of pressure and managed to take it most of the time in stride. Obviously, he's not a top-tier mid laner, but he's a lot more solid than I gave him credit for even in spring. I'm super excited to see him moving forward because while he might be that rock, I don't think he's a carry rock, right? I think he might be one of those that I haven't seen before. Mid laners that you can rely on but don't necessarily count on. One of those that you don't put a win condition on, but it'll help you get kind of what FlyQuest is doing with POB right now. Throw him on a rise, see what he can do, get that 100 Thieves execution, and not doing nothing until POB gets caught out and has to show us how much damage he does. Throw Sligo on something like that. I think it would do really well. I mean, a lot of what I don't like from this team, the 100 Thieves team, anyway, seems like it can be fixed from some additional time together. I don't think this is 10th place 100 Thieves again, but it's hard to tell where this team is going to end up. I really want to see how this team comes together and who 100 Thieves is as a team. I think from spring, since the roster shakeup, everything told, I don't think we've seen who 100 Thieves is. And that's a problem. And I think maybe that comes through synergy, and maybe that comes through coaching staff. And you look at a team that has the talent to win, has the talent to be top 3, debatably 2 going into the spring split. That talent, and they're 10th, and now they're 0-2 into summer. We got to start looking at the coaches. What are they doing? What are they developing? You look at some of the interviews from Prolly in Spring Split, and it's I just like my team do whatever the heck they want, and it works really well. We're crazy. I don't think the "we're crazy" is working anymore for me. So I really want to see who 100 Thieves is. Show me that. Get Amazing on the team, give them a couple weeks, get that synergy built, and show me who they are. because that needs to come from coaching staff at this point. Again, I don't think that needs to come from the players. I don't think who we are as a team is let our players play solo queue. No. Okay, no. So, 100 Thieves, they are number 10. I think a lot of that can be attributed to the rough start. Amazing coming off the plane, into customs, onto the LCS stage. That's rough. That's really rough for a team when one of your players just got there. Literally just got there. So, some synergy needs to be made, forged, happening. They need to work, tweak, see who they are, find that style, and frickin' go. And then we can kind of talk about where 100 T's ceiling is, because I don't know. Like, I'd like to think that their ceiling is still like top 3, but realistically, it's not going to happen for a while. We're going to have to see that synergy built, and by the time that happens, playoffs contention is probably going to be just about over. Either they're going to be in it or out of it, and we'll kind of have to see where the ceiling is then. That, for this week, is the power rankings for week number 1, LCS Summer Split. Moving on to games to watch. For Saturday, I would probably have to be Cloud9 versus Echo Fox, Optic versus CLG. If you're feeling a little spicy, I'd go for that Clutch versus Golden Guardians. And on day 2, I would keep my eyes on FlyQuest versus Optic, 100 Thieves versus Clutch. Both of those have the potential to be a real knockout. Except for FlyQuest. FlyQuest is just knocked out. It's just a joke because they did really bad, and I want to point that out. If we're feeling a little spicy, Echo Fox versus TSM, maybe a little Golden Guardians versus C9. Now I'm just like, games to watch, all of them, they're great. But like, I feel so invigorated. Early split is really like easy to get kind of vested in all these storylines and like see how the teams develop. I kind of like that a lot. Again, if you want to keep the safe picks, first 2, pretty good. If you want to kind of like be dicey, or you're already watching the whole thing, then maybe you break into like 3, 4. If you're really in love with the LCS, just watch all 5. And then all of these don't mean anything. But that wraps up this version episode iteration. I'm going to do a little less of the cuts and like the slides with the a little less of that, a little less of, we don't really need that. I got them right here. Oh shit. That's going to wrap it up, guys. If you watched this whole time, thank you very much for being interested in where I think the LCS teams belong. Follow me next week. I feel, again, personal note at the end of this video, I got really burnt out. I took a lot onto my plate, and my mental health wasn't really in the best position when I took on this project in Spring Split. It was hard for me to do. It takes up a lot of time. Like these videos, I really do. Like, let me show you something real quick. This is the amount of things writing. I watch all the games. This is the amount of writing I do. A paragraph for about each team per game, and then another paragraph that's a synopsis of the other 2 paragraphs to make up these power rankings. Again, I switched it a little bit at the end, but like, this is a lot of work, okay? And like, me not at my best mental health place is probably not the best avenue to take this series on, but I'm feeling a lot better. I'm taking a lot of steps to take care of myself and keep that mental more in check. I know I do a very, very, very terrible job of keeping YouTube updated, but I think I would like to try. Again, if you want to keep more updates, I can do that on Twitter, or I have a Discord server. I'm probably going to throw that link down in the description. It's where if you want to keep up to date, you can feel free to ask me there, and I'll let you know what's going on in a very open, real way. Anyway, expect a much more consistent schedule for this week's this split's LCS power rankings. I will see you next week, and until then, don't you forget